So, hi, Susan. It's great to see you again after a very long time. Um, and also with the pandemic and everything. And I'm really excited to have you on our show. So, I don't know if you want to start by like introducing yourself to our guests.
Okay, sure. Thank you, Mara. It's good to see you too. Hi everyone. My name is Sussan Agber. I am a recent graduate of international forestry at the University of British Columbia in Canada. And prior to that, I was born and brought up in Nigeria, and I've been working with a couple of NGOs in Nigeria before I moved to Canada. And I look forward to. I'm actually looking for a job, so
Okay.
so to all my listeners, I studied international forestry and I'm into climate change advocacy and education. And so, thank you for having me. This is me.
Yeah, and thank you for being here. I think the last time that we actually like met each other was in Spain last year, right? And we didn't.
No, the first time we met each other was actually in Ghana during the
Yes,
African Climate Week. Yeah.
yes. And then the last time was in Spain.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. But we didn't really have much time to sit down and talk because I know you were busy with your stuff and I was also busy with mine.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So how has school been? How has your master's been? And like maybe you could just tell us what your experience has been studying a master's in a foreign country.
Okay, so this has been my long time dream. Uh, the dream actually started in 2011 when I was offered forestry in my undergraduate program. I didn't know what forestry was all about then.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to change the program initially when I was offered it because I didn't know what it was all about. So I happened to meet a friend who was also giving the program when we went for accreditation in school. And then she encouraged me. She was like, instead of changing the program, why not let's read about this program and see what it's all about. And then we started reading about the program and we saw how interesting forestry was outside of Nigeria. And
Mm-hmm.
then that was how we became friends. We ended up becoming roommates. And since then, we've been pursuing our degree to get our goals and career development together. So for me, studying abroad has been a long time dream. It's a life experience. It has given me a chance to experience a different style of education, to make international friends, to experience new culture, and above all, to have a degree in a prestigious university. So I'll say I'll focus on the positive aspect of it and say it's an amazing experience for me. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. I also wanted to find out because I also migrated from Uganda and I just wanted to know from your experience how you deal with the cultural like the cultural differences or the cultural shift because you know like where we're from there's certain things that are different and then you sometimes it's I think they call it culture shock. So
Yes.
how have you been able to deal with that on top
Um,
of studying?
okay. So, Maria, I would say I had an advantage to some extent because right from my undergraduate, like when we started researching about forestry, I joined some organizations, one which was the International Forestry Student Association, IFSA.
Mm-hmm.
So this organization was an international network as well. So for me, I'll say I started having like international connections right from a very young age. So I didn't feel the culture shock compared to some of my colleagues that were just leaving their state for the first time. Because if you remember, I was also at a COP in Marrakech and also I was in Germany. So I
Mm-hmm.
think these conferences has helped me to like uh, not really experience the shock to some extent. I was prepared for it. I was
Mm-hmm.
prepared for it. And then my class, like I said, I studied international forestry. So I was privileged to have each continent was represented in my class.
Okay.
So, and then we discussed forestry, most times country perspective or continent perspective. So this has helped me um to like not really experience that shock as I would have. But there were
Yeah.
still some aspects of it. So what I did was I made friends, and most times I read about each person's culture before interacting with them, so that
Mm-hmm.
I don't get to offend them, maybe by, because most times I had a classmate that has struggled. He has really struggled to stay because he said things that ordinarily are not offensive from his place, but people
Mm-hmm.
find it offensive. So he has really struggled. So I think the best thing is educating yourself. So I really educated myself. My best friend is from South Korea. So
Okay.
we, so I
Yeah.
educated myself about South Korea, and that way I didn't get to offend her
Mm-hmm.
through saying things that ordinarily I wouldn't have said. So it's good that you
Mm-hmm.
educate yourself and be careful. And also for me, I I don't talk much. I observe a lot. I
Mm-hmm.
observe a lot before talking. So I think that has helped me to be on the safe side as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree with what you're saying, and what I think for you, it's a little different because you're studying with people from all over the world. So
Yes.
it's yeah, you have to appreciate their cultures and everything. And I
Yeah.
agree that there is a lot of difference in the way we speak.
Yeah.
Everyone, you might say something that doesn't seem offensive to you and then it's offensive to someone else. So yeah, we need to be careful how we speak. For me,
Yeah.
I think the thing that I'm learning is humor. Like the
Mm.
humor here is different from the
That's
humor back in my country. So
yeah.
sometimes people will say things lightheartedly and then you take it too serious and you
Yes.
get offended for no reason when they're just joking.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so that's
Oh,
interesting to know.
yeah.
Yeah. All right. So the other thing that I had wanted you maybe to share with our viewers is the coronavirus pandemic. You know that it's been with us for the entire 2020, and I just wanted to know from you, how have you been coping with the situation in school and in Canada? By the way, do you speak French yet? Because I know Canadians speak French.
No, I happen to be in the English speaking side of Canada,
Oh,
so
okay,
I don't
okay,
have to deal with French that much. But I would
okay.
love to speak French.
Well, I can
Yes,
give you some lessons.
yeah.
All right. So the
So
virus.
the COVID, it happened when it started when we actually started our second term. That was when it started, and we were actually on the field trip. So we went to one of the indigenous communities in Canada to talk to them about their perspective of forest management or sustainable forest management. So
Mm-hmm,
that was when we got a call from the school management to come back to Vancouver. The school has been closed.
mm-hmm,
So on our way back, a lot of things changed within 1 week. Most of the restaurants that we stopped on the way to eat from were closed. Most
mm-hmm,
people didn't want to attend to us because they didn't know where we're coming from as well. So they didn't want to attend to us. So
mm-hmm,
for me, one of the things I felt the most was the transitioning of our classes from in person to online. I was still trying to navigate my way around. So it was really difficult for me. One, studying in my room, looking at my bed beside me was really, really tough.
How were you able to get out of bed, or sometimes you stay in bed?
There were days I was listening to the professor on my bed.
Okay. I'm sure you're not the only one.
Yes, and then to some extent it became intense. I love being alone. Sincerely, I enjoy being alone, but I became fed up.
Mm-hmm,
So what I did was I used to every evening I used to go for a run,
mm-hmm,
and then we had like the school had resources like counselors we could talk with, And I got to Canada through a scholarship. So we
Yeah.
also had a scholarship. The scholarship has a body on campus that attends to us. So they were ever there present, checking up on us online, like through WhatsApp calls, through Zoom meetings. So
Mm-hmm.
they were there 247 for us to reach out to them if we need anything. And then my professors, they were also great. In fact, one of my professors actually shopped for me and brought it to my residence, which is something I've never experienced before. So these are my friends at the residence. At my residence, we had a lot of subcommittees. So I was part of the gardening committee. And then we
Okay.
also have like the film committee where we watch films on
Yeah.
specific days. So all these things were now online. We couldn't meet up. And my residents, we also go for breakfast. There was a breakfast hall and a dining hall where you see fellow residents, you talk to them before going to class, all this stuff. So it was really tough, but I'll say to some extent, being resilient, being hopeful, having people around you, checking up on you, and then
Mm-hmm.
making out time to go out, but staying safe, even going out, are the things that kept me true till the end. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. That at least it sounds like your school had it under control, which
Yes.
is good. Yeah, I think for us it was also more or less the same. The streets were empty and we all had to wear masks and we all had to be indoors and everything. But we managed to get through it, and luckily where we're staying there weren't very many outbreaks. I think we had one of the fewest in the country, so
Mm,
that I mean I guess that's a good thing in a
yeah.
way. And I just hope that the vaccine will be able to, you know, help like completely remove the entire coronavirus, because a
Yeah.
lot of people have actually lost their lives and their jobs as well,
Yeah. Yeah.
which is, yeah, which has been, I wonder, in your country, did your government release like a stimulus package to help people who have lost their jobs? Do you know?
Exactly. Yes. Here in Canada, right?
Yeah.
Yes, they did. They did that, and I also forgot to mention. Now that you brought this up, um, even students that lost their jobs, because as students we have access to part-time jobs on campus. Like,
Mm-hmm.
so students that lost their job, you can actually apply for. There was an emergency funding for students, even international students.
Okay.
So I think that helped. And then for me, I also benefited from this group from Nigeria. There's a state in Nigeria called Edo State. So
Yeah,
they have a
I
group
know
of
it.
friends here, Edo friends.
Mm.
So they actually supported students. They gave us a gift card to go and shop. So I think,
Nice.
yeah, it
Yeah.
was. I was surprised as well, because I was like, if they were supporting maybe students from their own state, I would
Yeah.
understand. But it wasn't that. They supported everybody from Nigeria. So I
Mm.
think that was really great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And for me, the thing that, well, one of the things is that I'm grateful I'm in this country, because I know in my home country there wasn't a stimulus package. The only thing that our government was doing was providing food, relief food. But like if you lost your job, then you had to find your way, and
Mm.
it's really
Yeah,
caused people a lot of heartache.
yeah. It's
Yeah.
same in Africa, in Nigeria as
Mm,
well.
mm,
So Nigerians, the federal government actually gave out a lot of food to be shared, which
mm.
was not shared. And then maybe when I talk later, I'll mention this aspect of it as we go along.
Yeah, I was actually coming to that. I was coming to that tough one about the NSARS campaign, which went global very fast. I was wondering maybe if you could, like, for our viewers later on and those who will be listening online, um, if you could give like a brief background of what is SARS and what's the NSARS campaign, and why, how did it become a global campaign that everyone was concerned about.
Okay, yeah. So SARS stand for Special Anti-Robbery Squad. So it's a police unit that was created in the 90s to deal with the issues of cattle rustling, motor car theft, kidnapping, and firearms. So they
Mm.
were given this autonomy to go about freely. They even had no uniforms, just to like go undercover and deal with these issues.
Like
But
detectives or what?
exactly, yes, yes,
Okay.
it's a police unit, yeah. So over time, they use their autonomy to move around freely, to set up roadblocks, and then at some extent they became brutal to face, so which led to extrajudicial killings, corruption, um, corruption, and even harassing of especially young people, harassing of young people. So
Mm-hmm.
at the end of the day, they became a replica of the very criminal group they were set up to deal with. So
Mm-hmm.
their target was mostly young people. If you
And
have
why? Why were they
um,
targeting young people?
so I think it's because of the lifestyle. Because if you're a young person with tattoo, with
Mm-hmm.
dreadlocks, with iPhones, with laptops, they will stop you. They will search you. They will go through your phones, and then if they mistakenly see any picture of a white person in your phone, that was the end of it. Because
Okay.
yes, their conclusion was like you're trying to scam that white person in your phone. That's
Oh.
why. So I think that was how they were operating. So this went on for years. It went on for years because this so, but recently, when the NSAS protest started, was because a video circulated online where they shot someone in broad daylight and
Mm-hmm.
drove off without even picking up the person. They shot this person and drove off, which
Mm-hmm.
started the NSAS protest that went global. So the NSAS protest wasn't just about the killings; it was just a total reform of the police unit, because this is not just particular to the SARS, but they are known for it. They are like wars. Most times they stop you on the road. If you don't have money with you to bribe them, to bribe your way out, Maria, they will follow you to an ATM. They will withdraw you. They will pinch the amount they want. You will insert your pin and they will withdraw the money before leaving you.
And what if you
If
don't have the money?
most times if you don't have the money, that's why they shoot you. They kill you right there
Wow.
and dump your body in the bush. During the NSAS protest, there was this guy. I wasn't there, but you could feel his pain. People were
Mm-hmm.
actually laughing at him, but one of the celebrities in Nigeria decided to reach out to him because a grown-up guy pulled off his clothes and was protesting in pants. So when he was interviewed, we got to know that SARS actually shot his twin brother right in front of him. They took him to the station and accused him of being a criminal, and they took the car they were driving up to assault. He said he was released 3 years after. He doesn't know where his brother's corpse is or where they buried him. The car they had, they took it with them. He doesn't know. So he was ready to die because this particular state where he was protesting from, the governor actually banned the protest, but he was at the forefront of the in Rivers State, that is Port Harcourt.
Mm-hmm.
It was the protest from Rivers.
Mm-hmm.
So people were like, this guy is not scared. He was at the forefront of the protest. So you can imagine these are what people go through. And at a point it was not knowing, it was nobody recorded all these things, but now we are seeing it, which is why people came out to protest and call the government to end SARS. And
Mm-hmm.
this is not the second time the government has claimed to end SARS. So people were asking for a total reform of the police unit and not just SARS.
Mm-hmm. And
Yeah.
do you think that the government is doing enough? Do you think because I watched the video that the president, when he gave the address
Yes.
on the End SARS campaign, and honestly, when I watched it, I felt like he wasn't really addressing the issues. So I don't know if that's a problem in the government itself, or is it just an executive problem?
The problem is in the government itself as well, and not just the
Mm-hmm.
executive. Because if you watch the video, prior to the video, he issued out a statement that he has dissolved SARS,
Mm-hmm.
right? But this is
Mm-hmm.
not the first time they are dissolving SARS. This is the
Mm-hmm.
third time. Recently was even during his administration. He was on a sick leave in the UK when SARS killed a young corps member. The vice president dissolved SARS. When Buhari, the president, came back, he didn't he didn't continue with that. The person that the vice president did, he reappointed that person.
Mm-hmm.
So Nigerians, because most people were like, oh, but the government has dissolved SARS. Why is the protest still going on? So this is not the first time. So we know our government. That's why the protest continued even weeks after he came out to claim that he has dissolved SARS.
Yeah.
Instead, they set up a new. I'll say they didn't even set up. They changed the name of SARS from SARS to SCOT,
Mm-hmm.
because the same people that were in SARS were the same people that were transferred to SCOT. So it's just like, oh, my name is this, but I don't want to go by this name. One, these
Mm-hmm.
people, when they meet you and they are threatening you, they will tell you, I will kill you and nothing will happen. And it's true, because
Mm-hmm.
they kill people and there is nothing is being done. They still go about freely. No, they are
No
not,
justice.
no justice,
Yeah.
not even an arrest.
Mm-hmm. And how are young people protecting themselves from this?
I think as a young person, most times you see when you're going out, you just leave your phone at home. This is the most,
Okay. And
your
what if you
phone.
have to call someone? What if you have an emergency?
So every Nigerian has two phones, one
Oh,
small
okay.
phone and a so when you're going out, just pray you don't meet them.
Yeah. Wow.
That is the only thing. You
Wow.
just pray you don't meet them ever. Even as a young lady, if they meet you, you're driving a car, they call you, you're a prostitute, or most times they ask you, call your boyfriend. That's the
Mm-hmm.
mentality. Just look at that mentality that you can't afford these things. Is your boyfriend that did these things for you. So he must be a criminal for him to afford the lifestyle you have. So they
Mm-hmm.
either call you a prostitute or they insist that you call your boyfriend to come, or you'll not be released.
Mm-hmm.
And there are cases where it has been alleged. A young lady shared her story. I think BBC even shared that story, where she shared her story when she was held in custody. Police raped her in custody.
Wow.
So these are the things. Yes,
So
yes.
tell me something. With the deaths that happened in that period in October, has there been any justice? For example, has The Hague come and condemned it, or nothing has happened at the
So
moment?
first, the Nigerian government said the videos were fake.
Okay.
Yes, that was the first thing he said. So CNN actually did an investigation, and so the CNN report actually brought a lot of issues. The commissioner in Nigeria and the special assistant to the governor, to the president, was actually threatening CNN. And to
Wow.
some, I don't know if you followed, but they also took Twitter, the CEO, the founder of Twitter, to court.
Mm-hmm. Really?
That, yes, they did in Nigeria, and these are
And
the
who
things. So
won?
they
Who
said
won? Uh-huh.
that he was promoting fake news
Mm-hmm.
because he tweeted it himself.
Yes. Yes, I
Yes, so
remember Jack
Twitter.
Dorsey.
So
Yeah.
they said the videos were doctored, they were fake news. And then secondly, after the CNN report, they said Nigerians were calling it a massacre, why it was only 3 people that died. How can
Mm-hmm.
a government, you lost your citizens and you
Yeah.
said only 3 people died?
And even 3 people is a lot.
It's a
That
lot,
means they are
exactly.
admitting that something happened.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then the Nigerian army that they used, They said during a press conference, they also said all these things, you can see it online, Maria.
Mm-hmm.
They said if a situation like that happen again, they will take the same actions.
Hmm.
So look at the country we find ourselves, look at the leaders we have. They don't
Mm-hmm.
care about human life. But
Mm-hmm.
these are the same people, Boko Haram, a terror
Mm-hmm.
group in Nigeria, one of
Mm-hmm.
the top terror groups in the whole world.
Mm-hmm.
They are reforming Boko Haram, that they are trying to bring the repentant Boko Haram into the society. How? These are
Yeah.
people that have been killing people. You call them for 2 weeks, you take pictures online, and you said they are repented, and you are trying to add them back into the society. But you go about killing innocent people for having an iPhone.
Mm-hmm. Wow. Well, I'm really sorry that it's happening. And
Yeah.
I know that you've experienced um your own, how should I say, you've gone through your own experience with police brutality before you left the country. I don't know if you're willing to share a bit about
Yeah.
it, because I saw you shared on Twitter. That's
Yes.
why I asked you to come and share here on our show.
Yeah. So the first experience was not directly with me. It was with a fellow student in my undergraduate studies.
Mm-hmm.
So he and his friends, they went to a public viewing center to watch football. So while he was there, one of his friends accused him of stealing his phone. And then he
Mm-hmm.
called SARS on him. He was picked up and he was tortured to death. This
Wow.
was someone I know. This was a very, I don't want to defend him, but this was someone I know. So he died. He was the only child of his parent. That was
Wow.
my first near experience. I cried for days. The whole school was mourning. And then the second experience was direct. I was involved directly. So this happened in Cross River State. So I just graduated. It was in 2018. So as a grad in Nigeria, when you graduate and you're below 30 years, you go for a 1 year mandatory program outside of your state. So the aim of this program is for you to offer voluntary service to that community. And you know,
Mm-hmm.
Nigeria is diverse with different cultures. So another aim is for you to know other cultures in Nigeria, to integrate and stuff like that. So
Mm-hmm.
I was posted to Cross River State. So this happened while I was there. I was serving in Calabar. I was happened to work for the governor of Cross River State, the wife of the governor of Cross River State. She had an NGO, Mediatrics Development Foundation. So that was where I was working. So in the morning, I was on my way to work, and then I stopped at a junction so that I would walk from there to the office because I was using public transport. So I dropped at this junction. It's a popular junction known as 1111. So
Yes,
this,
oh, not
yes,
11, 11, 12. That's different. Okay.
yeah. So no, the name of the junction is 1111. It's a popular junction that connects to um, parastatals. Even the central bank is located just beside. So just as I was about to cross the road, this policeman met me, and immediately he came close. He was drunk. He was smelling awful. He started talking to me. He said, "Hey, young girl, are you hungry?" I said, "No, sir." So I started walking. He said, "But I want us to go and eat." That he was about to go for breakfast and he wants us to go and eat. I said, "No, I'm heading to the office." So while he was talking to me, I was actually walking.
Mm-hmm.
So before I know it, he cocked his gun at me and pointed at me to stop or he will shoot me.
Wow.
So his colleagues saw what was happening. He ran from where he was and came. I was trying to talk to him, but he was drunk. He he couldn't even help himself. He was not
He
composed.
wasn't in his right
He
mind.
was not in his right mind.
Yeah.
So before you know it, he started calling me names. Ashawo, like that is prostitute in
Yeah.
Nigerian pidgin.
Yeah. I know.
Ashawo,
Yeah.
I'm even helping your life and stuff like that. So I was scared. I was shaking. I was still, I didn't even know what to say or what to do, because I was like, if I take my next step, he might shoot me. And people, because this place is popular, it even leads to the market. People were passing by, nobody stopped. People, and people that were walking, they just stood afar and were watching me. I didn't know what to say. So I
And he
remember,
was a police. Was he dressed in uniform?
yes, he was dressed in uniform. I still
Wow.
remember his name, Aliu. His name was Sergeant Aliu. It's a
I hope
name I
you
will
don't
never
get in
forget.
trouble for saying that
No,
name
no, no, no,
out
no.
loud.
So I stood there. I now told something, I just told him, okay, that since I can't go out with him, he should follow me to my office so that he will know where I'm working. And when I'm not, maybe when I close from work, I'll follow him to eat. That was when he
Mhm.
said yes. So we started walking. He insisted on holding my hands. He was touching me inappropriately, but I
Wow.
was just calm. We were walking. And then we got to, so before you get to my office, there's a magistrate court. So while we're there, they took some prisoners there, and so he saw some officers there, because police, they normally accompany those prisoners when they take them to court as well.
Mhm.
So he saw them and he got distracted with them, and that was how I ran. While he was talking to them, I ran and entered. There is a hospital for antenatal close by too. It's a very popular place. So I
Mhm.
ran and entered the hospital till I made sure he was no longer there. That was when I came out. I went to the office. I told the secretary, to the first lady, to the wife of the governor, everything that happened. He said I should thank God that I'm alive, and that was
Yeah.
it.
And
That was it.
he didn't go and question.
He didn't. He didn't. And that
Hmm.
was it. So
Wow.
many
Wow.
people have lost their lives in this encounter. Many people. Many, especially when it's not in the city, or when the roadblocks are like away from the city, maybe peri-urban areas where you have
Yeah.
very little people. A lot of young people have lost their lives from such encounters.
Well, I'm really sorry you had to go through that experience, but I'm also glad that you survived it because
Yeah.
it could have gone south very fast, you know.
Yes.
But I think you handled it really well, and you probably were also lucky at
Yeah.
the timing that
Yeah.
you were able to escape for you. And I'm sorry that that had to happen to you. So I'm just wondering, in this case, does that mean that, do you think the police are even, is their job in Nigeria relevant? Are they serving the people well? And if not, what can be done, especially to protect the young people who are being killed innocently?
So I think this was one of the requests youth made during the protest, because in Nigeria, to join the military or paramilitary is not usually by merit.
Mm-hmm.
It's about who you know that is influential, that will
Mm-hmm.
submit your name, and you'll be recruited. So most times these people, they are not in their right state of mind, or all the influential people, to them this is a way of giving back to their society. So what they
Mm-hmm.
do is they go to the community, they ask maybe the youth leader to submit names of people they want to recruit, and then they go and submit. So these people, they are, they are not well prepared for these jobs, and the jobs are hard, and maybe the recruitment process, undergoing training. So when they come out, they want to exercise power. And then
Mm-hmm.
secondly, their salaries and where they live, compensations and things like that. They
Mm-hmm.
are paid very little amount of money as salary, which they can't
Okay.
even, if you look at their uniforms, it looks terrible, because they can't even afford to use part of their salary for their uniforms. So these were
Mm-hmm.
the things that during the protest, we were not just against them, we were even to some extent for them, because the
Mm-hmm.
youth were also demanding an increase in their salaries.
Mm-hmm.
so that maybe with this they don't have to harass people. And then they need not just the rigorous training but also psychological trainings
Yeah,
where
mental
they
health.
get to mental health, get to talk to psychologists, counselors, and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Because when you are talking to these people, they don't even make sense most times. Some of them can't even speak English. So when you don't understand to speak their own native language, there's barrier in communication. When you try to speak English, they are angry with you, so you are forming English on them and stuff like that. So these are the things the youth were asking, that police recruitment should be based on merit. Train these people, check them, engage them in every aspect, not just the rigorous or being strong or being able to run and stuff like that.
So
Mental
more
health is
like police
important.
reform, right?
Yes, it was a whole police reform.
Okay.
Their salaries should be increased. They should have benefits. Their spouses should have benefits. Their, they should include housing for them. These things will make them not just to get angry with young, successful people when they meet them.
Mm-hmm. I
So this
think
were
the,
the
the the whole
things.
answer to that also lies in getting rid of corruption,
Yes,
because where is the money going to come from? Taxpayers, but then
taxpayers.
it's
Yeah.
not being the money is being mismanaged at the
Mhm.
top level, and it's not going to providing the services that are needed in
Yeah.
the communities. Yeah. Well, at least I understand better the whole campaign and what the young people are advocating for. It wasn't so clear on Twitter,
Yeah.
but now that you've made it clear, I do appreciate, and I hope that there will be police reform. It's all probably going to take some time, but maybe over
Yeah.
time it will change. With leaders
Yeah.
like you and
To some
Ude.
extent, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. To some extent,
By the way, Ude
the
is in
governor,
Geneva.
my
Did you know?
yes, yes. He told me.
Yeah.
Yeah. So to some extent, those that were at the forefront of the protest, their bank accounts were freezed based on
Mm-hmm.
the government instruction. But I'm so happy. I think yesterday and today,
Mm-hmm.
NSAS is back to number one on Twitter in the world.
Oh,
Of
okay.
yesterday, yeah. So
Oh,
people are not relenting.
so
People
this is
have
a
not given
timely
up.
interview.
Yes, yes.
Yeah. Okay, great. So I think now we should focus on another important topic, which is climate change. And I know that you're a climate activist.
Yeah.
So I wanted to know from your experience, both in Nigeria and now living in Canada, do you think that the climate crisis and youth climate activism is taken seriously? And how have you seen it? How have you seen youth climate activism take place? Like, for example, in Canada, because I know in Nigeria there are very many active youth members who are pushing for climate change.
Mm. Yeah, so I'll say youth activism in Canada. It's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
There are lots of organizations, unlike in Nigeria. In Nigeria, there are very few organizations
Mm-hmm.
that are into climate change,
Mm-hmm.
education, or advocacy. So it's really interesting. One of the things I was actually discussing with my friend was that here there are organizations for high school children. There are organizations for primary school children. You meet a 6 year old, she's already thinking about climate change. She's already talking about climate change, which is
Mm-hmm.
really interesting.
Mm-hmm.
And she's not just talking about climate change. These organizations are already grooming her to be an advocate, to be a consultant, to be a climate scientist, to be into climate finance, like every
Mm-hmm.
aspect, which is really interesting. We don't have that in Nigeria.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, I got to know about climate change when I was already in the university. And then
Mm-hmm.
I'll also talk about barriers in communication. In Nigeria, not all these children, most of them, they can't speak yet, so we have to interact with them in their own native language. And in my own language, I'm from a very small group in Nigeria. We are not really small, but we are the fourth largest group in Nigeria, the thieves from Benue State. So translating climate change into my native language, I don't know how to do that. People are working on it, but they still like arguments as how to actually translate this word into our native language for effective education or campaigns, which is
Mm-hmm.
not the case here. So I'll say that they are way ahead of us, which I'm really impressed, because these are the top polluters. So if they are doing these things, is really important. And I'm amazed because they are trying to educate their young ones to start taking action. There are different groups that go to all the beaches here to clean. You can volunteer to go. And I've been part of some of these activities. The recent one I've been to was actually a restoration activity where we went to plant trees I was a majority were 6 and 5 year old. I saw them, the excitement of playing in the mud while planting. It was really amazing. So I'll say
Mm-hmm.
here the activities, they are top notch, but I'll say this is global north, so to some extent it's expected.
Yeah.
So as global south, we are still struggling to meet up. So the inequality is there.
Yeah.
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 Mm.
Well, I will say I think Canada is probably more ahead in terms of activism than here in the States. In
Yeah.
the States, it's like sparse, like they're in cities, but then in some places, like in the rural areas, not so much.
Mm.
So, and also climate change here is very politicized because you
Yes.
have the Republicans and the Democrats, and within the
Yeah.
Democratic Party, you have the progressives. I would say that the progressives are more climate oriented, and
Mm.
they're the ones who are pushing for radical action, the likes of Bernie Sanders and Alexander Ocasio-Cortez. And
Mm.
then the other ones are just they're trying to be moderate about it, but
Yeah.
we obviously don't have time for moderation.
Yeah.
um, Also, I feel like um, climate change hasn't really been defined enough for
Mm.
people to understand here.
Yeah.
People understand conservation, nature
Yes.
conservation and restoration, but then when you go to climate change, then that's when you lose some of the people. So I feel
Mm.
like more needs to be done in that area. There are so many nature organizations here that are doing phenomenal jobs with the education, and they have a lot of funding, and they go out in the communities and do a lot of stuff. But
Mm.
then the climate change per se, not so many. I can actually count them on my hands, on my
Mm.
first hand, like the ones who are actually lobbying Congress or really focusing on carbon emissions and carbon pricing and stuff like that. Not so many. So I'm hoping, like with the new presidency, they
Yeah.
make it a priority. But I
Yeah.
agree with you, back in Uganda, we also have the same challenge of communicating in the different languages, because we also have many languages in Uganda.
Mm.
And I think also the other thing is it how do you make climate change a top issue for people? Because people are thinking about food and
Mm.
water and
Yeah.
making money. So how do you show them that it's all interrelated? I
Yeah.
think if we find a way of communicating or showing them that everything is connected,
Yeah.
and climate change can solving climate change can solve all the other issues that they are facing, maybe we'll probably go a long way. That's what I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, now you mentioned that, and I think to some extent here in Canada, BC, British Columbia, the province I'm living, They had a lot of industries, like wood industries. But I will encourage you to read about the wall in the woods that
Mm-hmm.
happened long time years ago. Conservationists and indigenous people were against the industries that were here because they were given permission to cut on crown lands. I won't go into details, but you can read about it. And the indigenous people protested, and it brought international media, and about 3 or 4 mills were closed down. So now what I understand, it's here, even for you to export, you must be registered. Like, certification is really important. And for
Mm-hmm.
you to be certified in Canada, you must be making, as a wood industry, you must have an acre of land somewhere, or there is a certain amount of land you must have, that you are replanting the same amount of trees you are cutting for your mills. So
Mm-hmm.
it's really interesting,
Mm-hmm.
the efforts
Interesting.
like the government is putting in
Yeah, the
place,
policy.
the
Yeah.
policy. Yes.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, like,
I hope we have such policies here
yeah,
in the
yeah.
future.
Yes.
Well, let's wait
And
and see.
this
Everyone is looking at
CSR
Joe
here
Biden
is
now.
a serious thing as well for all, most of the businesses. Corporate social responsibility is a huge thing. Like, even when someone wants to invest in you, that's the first thing they go on your website to see what you're doing. So I
Mm-hmm.
think these are things, policies that if other government emulate, it will go a long way to help fight the effects and the impact of climate change.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so we have like a few minutes left, and I wanted to ask you. I'm just going to combine these two questions. The first one is, what's your impression of the climate negotiations? Because I know you've been through a couple of, maybe, how many have you been to? Three now?
Three, yeah, three now.
Yeah. What do you think of the time that is spent at the COPs? Do you think it's fruitful, or do you think it could be improved? And then the final one is, what words of encouragement would you have for young people who are looking to create a career in climate change?
Okay, so my thoughts about this UNFCCC negotiation is, I really wish, if we are meeting at all as member states, it should be to discuss the way forward and not to go back. I mean, they started COP
Yeah.
even before I was born, and they keep negotiating the same issue over and over again. So I
Mm-hmm.
really wish, if we go for conferences like that, it should be emerging trends, the innovative ways to deal with emerging trends, not going
Mm-hmm.
back to negotiate what was left behind, or a government not meeting up their target years ago. So to me, it's really something. I don't know. The last COP I attended, because I got funding from my university, and I was supposed to give a talk about my experience, and I shared my experience. And one of my professors told me that that's why he doesn't go for COP, because he goes there and he told me that that's why he stopped going. That he was
Mm-hmm.
there. He was even one of, like, the keynote speakers,
Negotiators. Uh-huh.
negotiators, to
Yeah.
some extent, but he stopped going because he said he goes there and they're talking about what they discussed 5 years ago. So he
Mm-hmm.
got fed up. So
Mm-hmm.
just like him, I feel like if we go there, it should be new trends that are happening,
Mm-hmm.
and we need to actually deal with it in
Mm-hmm.
innovative ways, and not dragging
Exactly.
issues that have been carried over years ago.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
I
then,
totally agree with you. Yeah.
yeah. And then, to people that are pursuing career, to young people, I'll tell them to get to know their programs. Just like I told you my experience earlier, most people are ashamed of their programs. I remember people that were studying fisheries in Nigeria, in my school, they used to
Mm-hmm.
tell people that are studying marine engineering, they were shy, or they were embarrassed to say fisheries because they don't know the importance.
Yeah.
I'll say what saved me was the fact that I read about my program. So if you read about your program and you set a target for yourself and you work hard towards achieving that target, nothing will stop you. So for me, I just want to encourage young people to, they have access to the internet. Internet is a bit cheap in Nigeria. So if you go online, don't just go online for fun. I stay online all day. but I have over 300 messages I've not replied to, because I read online. I keep looking for opportunities online. So
Mhm.
if you're online, it's not just to chat to make new
To
friends,
be on
it's
social media.
to
Yeah.
be on social media, it's
Yeah.
to develop yourself, to look for opportunities as well.
Mhm.
And then when you find this interest or this passion or access to social media, work towards it. Because if you express your interest but you don't work hard, or you are determined to do it, you'll be stuck there wishing, keep wishing or fantasizing. So I think these are my words of encouragement to young people who wants to pursue their careers. And it's important to get mentors, identify mentors in your field, reach out
Mhm.
to them, tell them. When you are reaching out to them, write to them. Don't say hi sir, no. If you send me a message and you just say hi, I don't reply. I expect you to follow up
Yeah.
with a message.
Etiquette. Yeah.
Yeah. So this is my advice to young people who are trying to build up their career in the forest sector, in climate change, or in any field at all.
Hmm. Thank you, Susan. I think that's a lovely way to end the show. I hope sometime in the future, maybe next year, we'll be able to meet again in person, obviously, and keeping safe and everything. But thank you for
Yeah.
taking the time to share with us your story and also inspire young people. I think I've also learned a
Thank
thing or two from you.
you for
Yeah.
having.
Okay. Bye, and I wish you luck with the job hunt.
Thank you. Thank you. So happy to
Okay, I think I lost you. You're having internet issues, but I will thank you again for joining us, and we shall make the both the video and the audio version available on our social media platforms and on our podcast. So thank you everyone for joining, and we'll see you again on